Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we are on the topic from verses 31 to 40 in chapter 2 of the Gita, where Krishna is explaining to Arjuna his duty to act. Right? We stopped in the middle there last time on verse 34. So, having explained the indestructibility of the Atman, the soul, and also this perpetual cycle of birth and death, which has a purpose behind it. So, he says there's nothing to be agitated about, even death, because it all fits in with the general scheme of things. So you all should understand, if all your ancestors were living, would you be able to live in this world? One mother-in-law you can't handle. Imagine all the mother-in-laws in the same house. You commit suicide right away. So it's like that. As Tennyson says, the old order changeth, yielding place to new. So it has to happen. That's why the three deities, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, right? Creation, maintenance, destruction, are in one form. It's called Lord Dattatreya. It's all symbolic. All symbolic of the process of creation, maintenance, destruction, which is inevitable. So he says, what's your problem? So what you should be bothered about is, what is my purpose, obligation, duty in this world? What am I here for? Find that out. That you don't do at all. You just live your life on a herd instinct. It's total herd instinct. What everybody does, you did. That's all. There's no thinking at all. So he says, think. You are a Kshatriya. Your nature is to be a warrior. So you have to fight. But if you fight for yourself, you will only create more desires, more ego, more egocentric attitude to life and destroy yourself. So work for a higher purpose, and you've got that purpose. These Kauravas have to be destroyed. What is your problem? So in those two verses, it's Vedanta in a nutshell, which he'll go on. Even in the 40s verses, 41 to 50, you will see how he gives the whole picture of life beautifully. What is your duty? And how to perform it. And then Arjuna obviously is not attuned to these high philosophical concepts beyond a point. So he comes down to his level. Arjuna, like almost all human beings, has a weakness of ego. So he pokes his ego. Because from his childhood, Arjuna has been praised by everybody. No exception. There's a great warrior, great prince. So he's developed an ego. Says you don't fight, people will recount your perpetual honor, a dishonor. And this dishonor is worse than death. So I had told you last week, I spent a lot of time with this. This ego is so powerful that you build your life around this ego. So the offshoots of ego is all this: status, reputation, name, fame, power. These are all offshoots of that desire, that ego. So everybody has that weakness. See, I told you, so many families I know, not one family in particular. So they were the biggest in their area. And one of the other families who was like ordinary in the sense of money, one fellow made it very big. So this guy who used to be the biggest for generations, they just couldn't take it. So they took loans and loans to try and match up with that other person. They had a fabulous lifestyle and all kinds of wealth, no problem. And total destruction. You know how many families has happened? How many? Between brothers. Ego. You can't handle it. Weddings. Nothing but a show of ego. I told you. The whole India will become the richest country if they stop these weddings. Not weddings. All the paraphernalia that goes around. Whole attention of everybody is on that. What is it? Status. What will people think? Who cares? Who cares? So, if you can live your life free from ego, you will be right on top. You'll be a king, literally. The house you buy, what will others think? Car you drive, what will others think? Anything. And those who are impressed by these things, they're not worth impressing. They're not worth having as friends. People come to these weddings in India, huge lavish weddings. You think they're impressed, they only curse you. Must be black money. How else could you have spent so much? They'll come, eat your food and curse you. And some will go as far as to report to the income tax. It's happened. How did he get those carpets? One fellow got all Persian carpets. Whole wedding ground. Can you believe? Covered. One fellow reported him to the income tax. That's how he got caught. Because where did you buy those carpets? They're like tens of thousands of dollars each in India. So they've caught him on that. The true story. He was finished. So how did you buy this? He didn't have obviously it was all underhanded. So you are trying to impress people who are jealous and who are looking for the first opportunity to finish you. Actually, that's what happened. So you don't know what you're doing. See, Shakespeare has a saying, if you live your life on those two sentences, you're made. He says, speak less than thou knowest, have more than thou showest. In other words, speak less than you know, have more than you show. So what do we do? Any topic, you are an Einstein. Any topic in the party, anybody starts, you'll have an opinion. When you don't know anything. Should the dollar be devalued? Do you know anything of economics? And you'll have opinion. So, speak less than you know. That's a form of no ego, humility. You're willing to listen more than give your opinion. Such a person is a class apart because they're willing to learn. You don't find anybody. Just the ability to keep quiet in a group if you have. Now, from now on, don't. What's your name? I don't know. Because I was told to say I don't. The one, the extreme of madness is that. When you're asked, of course, talk. Speak less than you know, have more than you show. What that means is there's no weakness to try and impress others. You have much more than what you need to show to the world. That's how it should be. It's the exact opposite. You speak more than you know, you have less than you show. Why? Ego. Just a fat ego destroys you. So that's how he continues. So Arjuna can't take it. So if Arjuna had an intellect developed, he said, let them think what they want. I will do what I ought to do in this world. But he couldn't. So he continues in that vein in 35.
मन्स्यन्ते त्वां महारथाः येषां च त्वं बहुमतः भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम् भयाद्रणादुपरतम् मन्स्यन्ते त्वां महारथाः येषां च त्वं बहुमतः भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम्.
The great chariot warriors will think that you have withdrawn from the battle out of fear, and you that were highly esteemed by them will be lightly held. So, what happens with this ego is those who are above you, you feel jealous. Those who are at your level, you want to go higher than them. And those who are below you, you are arrogant. So the opposite, what happens is, if those who are below you put you down, that is the highest provocation. See, your boss shouts at you, you can take it. But your subordinate talks ill of you, fellow 2 ranks down, that you can't take. Be extremely hurt, agitated. So this is what he's telling Arjuna. These great chariot warriors who are absolutely nothing compared to you, they used to think so high of you. They will say, you are a useless fellow. That he can't take. And the opposite is, that is why the biggest gossip magazine is on the celebrities, right? Who are higher, you consider higher than you. People who don't have no problem. What is high about them, I don't understand. So anything happens with ordinary people, but you think, oh, great cricketer, a great sports person. Yeah, I have a talent. Okay, fine. So you consider yourself here and they are very high. Oh. So what does gossip do? When the gossip magazine writes, that person, they he beat his wife or whatever, something like that, or he was caught for drugs. Now he's gone down. So you feel higher. Because a person who's so high has gone down, you feel so high. And that's why everybody loves gossip magazine. Because suppose your neighbor had the same thing, would you get a kick out of it? Why not? Suppose somebody you don't know in the slum, they had a fight, would you be bothered? No, that celebrity who you consider so high. So that's the greatest entertainment, putting those fellows down. You know what she wore? What she wore? What does that have to do with you? You know what she wore? You get a kick, putting them down. So you see how the ego plays. It totally destroys you. Nahankarat paro ripuhu, says the Upanishad. There is no enemy worse than your ego. Ahankar, I. And that same ego transfers to the child, right? That's why anybody says anything about your child also you can't take. Me. They put me down. So your whole life centers around ego. That I. So if you can remove that I, you have no idea where you will be. That sense of I is the barrier, in fact, between you and God. So you call yourself whatever, Khem, Shalini, Alok. Imagine if there's no sense of that Khem, Shalini, you're enlightened. It is that which is keeping you here in this realm of sorrow, and you're pampering it all the time, unconsciously, innocently, like children. You have no idea. So you destroy your life. You know how Caesar was killed? Just provoking his ego. See what happened. So those conspirators, who were that? Cassius and Brutus, right? Casca, all these fellows. They had conspired to kill Caesar, right? So the plan was to bring him to the Senate and murder him there, because there's no bodyguards, there's no soldiers and all there. They're not allowed in there. And it was by word of honor. It's not that you have checks like you have now, security checks. Like how we had in the airlines before 9/11, right? We just walk in. Nobody even thought about it. It's like going into a bus earlier. I remember when I was here. So, what are we saying? Caesar. So that night, California, Caesar's wife, had a terrible dream. And the morning she got up and told Caesar, today you will not go to the Senate because I have dreamt that there's something awful going to happen. Whatever. Shakespeare had that little premonition type thing in his works. So it used to come up here and there. So he said, what nonsense you're talking. I have important work there. I have to go. But she pleaded so much that he gave in. Because he knows after Senate work, he has to come home only. Then again, it's a problem. So he had to weigh the balance. So he gave in. Okay, I'm not going. So these fellows, Brutus and all these guys, they had come to his house to take him. They'll walk together like the senators used to do. They all walk together to the Senate. Homes are all close by. So they came. Hey, why aren't you ready? Caesar, what's happening? He said, I'm not coming. Why? He says, my wife, he gave the exact explanation. My wife said it was a dream, and so he says, tell the Senate I'm not coming today. He was powerful enough, he didn't have to explain himself. And then that Cassius, rascal, that fellow. So he's telling Caesar, okay, we'll go to the Senate and tell them Caesar will come next when his wife has better dreams. And that provoked him. That ego. I am under my wife. What? That's what they'll think. See, Julius Caesar, listen, he couldn't take that. See, he knew where to press the button. And they got him and killed him. So that's what I'm saying. Where does your ego play? You have no idea. And it can destroy you. Like I just gave you examples, it has destroyed so many people. People have murdered others for an insult. They couldn't take it. So you must understand, you should not be provoked. You must have your ego under control and try as much as possible not to provoke others. Ego, don't put them down unnecessarily. You're going to be in trouble. You don't understand. You take it innocuously. So your whole world revolves around this I until it destroys you. That's what he's doing here. He's provoking him. And in 36 he continues.
Avachyavadam बहून् वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यम् ततो दुःखतरं नु किम् अवाच्यवादांश्च बहून् वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यम् ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्
And your enemies will say many unbecoming words, cavilling your prowess. What indeed could be more painful, dukkhataram nukim, than that? Extreme provocation. Before verse, inferiors. See, Krishna won't stop there because he wants to make sure nothing is left out. So, if your inferiors put you down, can't think of anything worse. There's one thing worse. People you don't like, enemies, they put you down. So he says, your enemies, people who he's hated all his life from the bottom of his heart. Duryodhana, Dushasana, Shakuni, Karna, all the characters on the Kaurava side, who he literally hates. He says, they will laugh at you. Look at this fellow. He's come. Friends put you down, okay. Mother-in-law puts you down, horrible, big fight, right? So it's the sister-in-law even worse. And sister-in-law's friend, who you don't like. It's like that. Because you have to understand in your language. Yeah, you understand enemies, battle and all that level you've not gone to. But so sister-in-law good enough. I know people who talk like that. After 40 years, the first day I came into the house, she made that comment. 40 years later, they're telling me. I mean, there's a limit. How much the ego troubles you? Just somebody put you down, right? So what? Such a fat ego we have, all of us. Somebody puts you down, it should just go like water on a duck's back. Only thing I would recommend is if they are talking the truth, then you listen and improve yourself. If they are not talking the truth, let them have their opinion. You should be fully insulated. Live life on your terms. That should be you're not indifferent, but you analyze, understand, come to a conclusion. That's called your conviction. And you follow your conviction no matter what. Doesn't matter what the whole world says. That's how you achieve anything in this world. Ask the top tennis player in the world. Ask the top Olympic champion. All friends would say, nonsense you're doing. Go learn the secretary course. You learn something. Something they'll talk. They all followed their conviction. All the spiritually enlightened souls, they were laughed off by others. My guru himself is from a very established family in Chennai. I literally laughed him off when he left. Same fellows used to come with tails between their legs for advice. You understand? Years later. So you can't go by that. That's all ego. So remember what Shakespeare said. To thine own self be true, and it must follow as night the day. Thou canst not then be false to any man. If you're being true to yourself, remember this, friends, very important. Genuinely, to your own conscience and conviction, you are not being false to anyone. Could be your wife, could be your child, could be anybody. Doesn't matter. You've got to be true to your conscience, to your conviction. So, if Arjuna had an intellect, like he would say, enemies would say many unbecoming words. Let them say. He can't say that because too much ego. Second thing you must understand, even If you have not done anything, people will still talk because this reputation is so flimsy. So any fool who stands on that has no idea what they're doing. See, there are cricketers. One year they'll do and they'll treat them like gods. Next year they throw chappals and in the fellow's house. You understand? They throw footwear into his house if he's not performed alone. I think Yuvraj, no, was 1 year he got the championship. 2 years back, 2 years later he lost something he didn't do. One little innings you don't play properly, he'll finish you off. It's what Shakespeare said. Reputation is an idle and most false imposition. Beware, my lord, of reputation. It's an idle, ideally, loose. That's what he means, just loose talk. Idle and most false imposition. Oft got without merit and lost without deserving. Amazing quote. Even if most people get it without any merit, especially in this field, spiritual field. One actor has to say you're spiritual. Whole world will believe you're spiritual. Lunacy is not the word. Or one politician has to say. Who don't know anything about spirituality. It's just reputation. One fellow talks, other people talk, it becomes reputed. And somehow you get it. Lost without deserving. So Arjuna also, okay, whole life he's won battles after battles. He's built a reputation. Okay, he got emotional in one battle. Even if he left this battle, does he deserve his whole reputation to go? It'll go. Nobody will remember what you did. They'll only remember, that was the fellow who ran away. What happened to that poor fellow who slapped that guy on the Oscars, no? He's a fantastic actor, really good actor. And he's built years of reputation, films after films which everybody loves. And he lost his temper. That's all that happened. He went and slapped the, MC on the stage. Oscars. Not any. And because he believed he ridiculed. That fellow is just passing a joke. Yeah. And everybody remembers that actor. When you think of him, what do you think? That fellow who slapped that guy, no? Lost in one moment. It's unbelievable how flimsy it is. So to depend on the world, you've got to be literally insane. I'm not joking. And that's what these guys are, celebrities and all. When they lose it, which they will lose, they can't handle it. Now, why are you dependent on? And once they get it, they want to run away. They throw the cameras. Then they start fighting with that's the price you pay. You want fame. Once you get it, they all want privacy. Lunacy is not good. Fame means you've lost your privacy. That's it. See, our institution also, we keep it low key on purpose. You have no idea. So many people say, we'll do this, we'll promote that, we'll do that. See, we want the genuine people who really want to learn how to improve themselves. And since we have the knowledge, they will come. It's very simple. Where else will they go? Of course, we advertise and all, but not compromise to, start following these celebrities and all. There's a way to do it. So many people tell me, I'll tell you, you don't know anything. I say, yeah, I don't know. But what you know, I don't want. That much I know. So, what difficult it is to hire a PR agency, spend $500,000, you'll get an actor to endorse you and this and that. It will go like a. But who will come? I won't be able to teach you, trust me. I have to be doing all kinds of, like a monkey on a stage, Go talk here now, go. Like a fellow throws money, now dance. It will be like that, literally. Keep it. So you don't have that weakness for to be known. There's no problem. So no ego. First sign of spirituality. See, in the Upanishads, one king, Jana Shruti, comes to a. So what happens? How the passage starts? Two birds are flying, and there's this king who's a very pious king. He does a lot for his country, for his subjects. His name is Jana Shruti. Jana Shruti means praised by the people. Jana, people, Shruti, praise. So the one bird says, Jana Shruti is the greatest person in this kingdom. It's all symbolic. The birds don't talk. And the second bird says, what Jana Shruti? He is only after name. He wants appreciation. The greatest person in this kingdom is Raikwa, the cart puller. Fellow who pulls a cart, laborer. Jana Shruti hears this. He says, who's this Raikwa? Next morning, he can't take it. Again, ego. I'm talking the reverse of ego. That's why I'm giving you this parable. It's from the Upanishad. And he finds out, his ministers find out, and he goes. And they explain. The fellow is sitting there without a house, sores on his back, ugly, kind of they give that picture. So this fellow goes there and says, this guy, the greatest man in this kingdom. So the ministers say, yes, he's a highly evolved soul. People come to him for Brahma Vidya, knowledge of the self. Oh, is it? So he goes, gives him some gold like that, please teach me Brahma Vidya, gold. He says, get out. Just get out of here. The fellow is shocked. Nobody in his life has ever talked to him like that. You do not deserve this knowledge. Get out. The king, he is living in that kingdom. And ministers say, let's go. So then he asked them, why did he? He says, you can't go to a teacher with your ego. You know, give money, now talk. Doesn't work like that. So then he goes. The story is he goes with his daughter and says, I'll give you my daughter's hand in marriage with all the reverence. Can you teach me? Then he starts teaching him the Upanishad. Now the story is you don't have to give your daughter's hand in marriage. Hello. Now you're all they're all thinking what we have to do to get Brahma Vidya. So you must go with that humility, right? You must go with that. So it's not meant for these people, this knowledge. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So you have an ego you can't understand. Teacher has a desire for following, he can't teach. So what are we talking? Both have to have freedom from ego to a relative extent. Definitely the teacher has to have, student relative. All have had ego, but at least that much should be there. I don't know. And go with that humility. So people say often, why don't we charge for these classes? And madness, is this a way to teach the Brahma Vidya or what? It cannot happen that way. You must come with humility, I don't know, and learn. Of course, you want to support the cause of Vedanta, that's up to you. So, always remember, This ego is the barrier between you and God. Ego and the egocentric desire that comes out of the ego. But the actual problem is that I. You remove that I, you're enlightened. So I'm giving the overall picture. Of course, Krishna is not talking about that part of it right here. He's provoking him. Because when you're full of ego, these things will impact you. Clear so far? So this was a portion on the ego. So before we move on, any questions or clarifications? Saurabh?
Yeah, Gautam, you mentioned that I is a bigger problem than ego. Can you elaborate more on that?
No, I is ego. How can I be a bigger problem than I means ego? See the right now the I is limited to the body, mind, intellect. That is ego. I am the body, mind, intellect. So you have to transfer that ego to the self. I am the self. I am not this body, mind, intellect. That is the whole spiritual path. And when that identification with the body, mind, intellect becomes zero, you become enlightened. It's like when the identification with the dreamer becomes zero, you wake up from that dream. You're done with it. It's like that. It's literally like that. That is the fourth state. So what is keeping you here is the sense of I. And out of that sense of I, inevitably come the desires. The desires to cater to that I, which is personified in the scriptures as what? The snake with many heads. Ananta is that snake is called. Ananta means endless, no end. And then you see a diagram, you see a picture of Vishnu sitting on Ananta. One of Vishnu's name is Ananta Shayana, resting in Ananta, right? And all the heads of that snake are looking within towards Vishnu. Vishnu represents the self. Vishnu comes from Vish, which means all pervading. That which is all pervading, right? It's all symbolic. So the significance of that picture is you have to, all those desires which are going out have to now go within towards the self. Then your mind becomes totally peaceful. That snake is lying on an ocean of milk. Shira Abdi Shayana, right? Narayana. So Narayana, Vishnu, who's resting in that ocean of Shira, milk. So that represents the mind. That ocean represents the mind. The white mind is the pure, peaceful, enlightened mind. How do you get there? Introversion. See, these are all highly symbolic. Everything is, nobody understands. What kind of milk ocean? Then a snake, many heads, and then looking to what does this all mean? And Lakshmi is there with Vishnu. So it's not just enlightenment. If you live an introverted life, whatever you need from the world, Lakshmi represents prosperity. It will be attained. You have enough knowledge to know how to live your life properly. No problem. So that one picture gives you the entire spiritual path. Material, emotional, peace, ocean of milk, and ultimately enlightenment. Final. But that ego has to be tamed. That's why I'm talking about. So Lord Shiva keeps that snake around his neck You've seen his picture of Lord Shiva. There'll be a snake cobra coiled around his neck like that. So that ego which is so poisonous is now become an ornament for an enlightened soul, because that I am the body, mind, intellect has now become I am the self. So that same I has become great now. You see, the snake is now become a decoration rather than poison. So it's all symbolic, highly symbolic. So the same thing, ego, I, it has to be shifted to the self. That's the spiritual path. Got it? Ashish?
Hariam Gautamji. So the question, I'm going to try to use a simple example to make my question clear. So something that we have seen, like let's say universe, right? Our planets. We've seen the planet picture so we can understand, okay, there are 9 planets or 8 planets, whatever you want to call it, right? But if we have never seen the end of the universe, right? How can we associate? How can you understand the universe? Same topic, like we've felt the world, so we understand the world. We have not seen ourselves, so how can we understand, or how can we know that we are the selves?
You have to derive that knowledge indirectly. So what Vedanta does is it gives you logic and reason. We were doing that in the Vedanta class, right, on Saturdays recently. We were discussing how do you say that I pervades the waking dream deep sleep. What is that consciousness which remains the same through these changes, etc. So Vedanta gives you enough logic and reason, very powerful pointers. They're called indicative definitions to the self. It is the pure consciousness. That's a pointer. You don't know what it is, but the fact that you know that there is something making you conscious, which is all pervading. Everybody is conscious. So these are powerful pointers, that all pervading consciousness, the reality. So with those pointers, you get a fixation and you get detached from the world, and that's how you grow. So no doubt you're right. You cannot see the self, you cannot feel the self, you cannot conceive the self. It's beyond your body, mind, intellect. You can only become it. But the knowledge of Vedanta is the only body of knowledge which gives you this powerful fixation through logic and reason, not simply blind belief. And you go with that knowledge. It's not difficult. The more you gain this knowledge, the more the convictions. But you're right, it is faith all the way through, because you don't know. And if you say, I don't believe in faith, you don't know what you're talking. 99% of your life is based on faith, but there's some reason backing it. You get into a cab. How do you know that cab driver is not a maniac who's going to kill you? You don't know. But you get in. Everybody gets into an Uber because there's reason backing it. A company has sent that person. They've had millions of cab rides before. There's no reason, right? You go to a restaurant, how do you know the food is not poisoned? Pure faith. How do you know? That cook, do you know that cook? Probably if you know him, you won't eat that food, but still, you don't know that cook. How do you know he's not put poison? It's pure faith, but there is reason, logic backing it. Remember that. So you eat from the hands of complete strangers because there's logic. That restaurant has been there for years. People you've seen coming in and out. There's no reason to say it's poison. So all your life is pure faith, but there should be a reason. You won't get into a stranger's car. You won't eat food given by a stranger who you don't know, because there's no logic or reason back it. Similarly with Vedanta, gives you so much reason, understanding, which is further corroborated by your experience. The deeper you get into the knowledge, the more blissful your life becomes. the more clear it becomes. That gives you more impetus to go further. So it's an incredible process where your intellect understands and your mind keeps feeling through sheer experience, and then you keep going deeper. So there's no problem. Yes, Umesh.
Yeah, Gautamji, waking up from a dream and waking up is a binary phenomenon. It's one or the other. Losing individuality and gaining totality, is that a binary phenomenon, or something can occur gradually?
No. The spiritual path is not binary in the sense you are 5% spiritually evolved. You'll get 10% as you grow spiritually, then 20. But you're still stuck in the waking state, even a highly evolved person. But you're getting closer to that point of waking up, right? So at 100%, it becomes binary. You wake up from this dream. That's enlightenment. But the beauty is you don't have to wait till that point. To the extent you grow spiritually, you will develop the characteristics of the self in your own way. What is the self? Is infinite bliss. So if you're 20% spiritually evolved, 20% you will be permanently peaceful. 80% you'll still be agitated. 20% you'll have universal love. 80% you'll still have attachment. 20% you'll be self-sufficient. 80% you'll still be dependent. So it goes percentage wise. That's the beauty of Vedanta. You don't have to wait till enlightenment. Nobody will do it otherwise. You feel that benefit here and now as you grow. And in fact, that inspires you to grow further. So in the spiritual path, your bliss goes like this, diverges as you go. In the world, you start young, thinking you are on top, everything will be attained. And your bliss goes like this as you go through life. Monotony, routine, boredom, till you are agitated, depressed. This is the world. So you choose what you want. So it's not binary in that sense, but it is binary. You're in the waking state or you're enlightened. There's no two ways about it. But the preparation itself is the highest bliss in terms of the world. So where's your problem? You're on top of the world every time. Hari.
Hariom Gautamji. How to reduce ego in simple way?
How to reduce ego is exactly what we are doing. See, you must understand how much sorrow and suffering this ego causes. All the time you're agitated, what will others think? You're living your life. Like I told you, you go buy a car. You should buy a car which you can afford. Not what you think others will think and take a loan on it. So if you analyze, this ego is nothing but suffering and sorrow. So how you get out of any desire, how you get out of this worldly attachment is to understand the sorrow content in it. And understand the self is far superior, far greater joy, far more permanent. So pursue that. So Vedantic knowledge only deals with these two things. The more you understand it, the more you understand the madness of the world. The more you understand the glory of the self. So once you can start seeing the difference, it takes time to build your intellect to that level. Very easy. You refuse to get attached to the world. So Upanishad say, neti, neti. Fellow will offer you $1 million also. If you has to compromise your principles, neti. Forget it. You understand? Like I said. So you understand clearly the distinction. See, what is knowledge? Nitya, Anitya, Viveka, Vichara. Remember these 4 words: Nitya, eternal; Anitya, transient, ephemeral; Viveka, distinction; Vichara, contemplation. The contemplation upon the distinction between the real and the unreal. That is knowledge. You don't have it. Nobody has it. Not being personal to you. No one. You're so caught up in passing phases of life. You don't understand. They'll all go. Children, your husband, your wife, your this, it's all passing. What is true? Your wealth, your health will go one day. Your wealth will go. Your looks will go. Children will go. They leave you and go. You don't understand. You think it will last. Height of stupidity. And what is the truth which will never go, which is eternal? You don't have any clue. The Atman, the self. So that fixation is knowledge. That's how you get rid of your ego. It's a temporary passing phase full of sorrow. Why will you deal with it? But you've become so one with it. It hurts you even to think to get over it. It hurts you. It's so precious to you. So that distinction, that constant awareness of the distinction between the real and the unreal, that is knowledge. Work on gaining that. Ego will dissolve. Don't worry. It's a lifelong commitment to spend your life to try and destroy this ego. It's worth it. And every moment you're making it worse. You don't realize. You're going along with it. I. You're affirming it. I am this body. I am this mind. You give affection to your child. Again, you're affirming the ego. My child. You see, you're giving affection. It's like giving yourself affection. That's why you enjoy it so much. Come here. Why? Your child. Why? Because it's like giving yourself that. The child is an extension of you. Again, it's that I. You don't realize how powerful it is. I'm telling you a situation which you will never conceive also. So, it's so difficult because it's you. What to say? Birthday. The lunar, one more year closer to the grave. Celebrating. Birthday. So in the academy, when there was a student's birthday, we used to have a prayer. Now we don't because it became so big. No, every day there's something. So those days when I was there, it'd be 15, 20 for, if at all. So verse from the Atma Bodha used to chant that. Not happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Nirguno, Nishkriyo, Nityo, Nirvikalpo, Niranjana, Nirvikaro. So, I am not this. Nirguno, I am without attributes. Nishkriyo, without action. So, in the sense, I am the self, I am not this body. That should be the affirmation. One more year spent imprisoned in this body, mind and intellect. Now, if I say that, you put me in an asylum. At least you all won't because you come here for knowledge. If I go and tell this to the world, on your birthday, this is what you must chant. Nirguno, straight asylum. So, I don't know, inside the asylum or outside is the asylum. I don't know. Because when Voltaire was asked, he's a philosopher, What do you think of Earth? He says Earth is a place where people from other planets deport their lunatics. He gave the definition of Earth. Voltaire, you see it, a French philosopher. So he says it's the insane asylum of this universe. So now you know who you are. I am a Voltaire, according to Voltaire, not me. Tiger. Yes, yes, sir. I can't hear you. Your mic is on. There's you're unmuted, but I don't know if you're. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now.
How is conviction not influenced by ego?
Conviction ought not to be influenced by ego. Conviction is on facts. See, ego is your interpretation of the facts. You have to be aware not to get into that. Like I've told you, when you talk in a group, you say, that place is the best Chinese in town. Innocuous statement. That's your opinion. Another person may not think that is the place which is the best in town, right? That is ego. That's an opinion. Who likes the food the best? But the fact is different. That place is located in Somerset. That's not open to interpretation. That is a fact. So there's a difference between ego and fact. Conviction should be based on facts, your best analysis of the facts, without bringing in your ego. So what happens in life is you color the facts with your desires, your ego. See, that is what happened in that poem, The Pond, right? That chick wanted to swim, even though her mother had said, you're not meant for swimming. She saw the duck swimming, and she says to herself, as my beak is pointed and their beaks are round, is that any reason that I should be drowned? See, this is ego. You are looking at a thing based on your point of view. You want to swim. So you're looking at something which will help you justify that desire. Their beaks are my beak is pointed. Their beaks are round. Is that any reason that I should be drowned? Even a Supreme Judge Court can't object to that. So, and the first thing you'll ask is, what does that have to do with swimming? The beak. It can't. So it's not a fact. That's ego. So the chick can't say, my conviction is I can swim. Doesn't know what it's talking. So when you analyze, you must keep your personal ego and preferences out of it and analyze objectively. And if you're not able to come to a conclusion, especially where it's something important, you take the guidance of somebody who has a better intellect than yours. Your guru or your guide, right? That's it. You have to borrow an intellect when you don't have one. So right now we are borrowing Krishna's intellect. That's the Gita. We are borrowing an enlightened soul's intellect because we can't derive this. He derived it because he knows the knowledge, right? So go by your intellect objectively without bringing in your personal preferences. Like a judge you have to be. That is conviction. A judge can't decide a case if his son-in-law is the defendant, can he? He's bringing his personal preferences into it. We can't have that. So that judge is disqualified from that case. You bring in an objective judge to make a decision. So you have to be like that with your own self. It's very difficult. Right. So, couple of announcements. One is next week there's no class, obviously, because we are going for the retreat. And this whole week, Tuesday through Sunday, we won't be meeting because of the event is full, so there's a lot of preparation involved. So we will meet here in a couple of weeks, right? The schedule will start next Wednesday, which is 10 days from now. And secondly, the next retreat is in India in January at the there it is, Vedanta Academy. That's our campus right there in between Mumbai and Pune. So 13 to 18 January 2025. So I would highly encourage if you can come. We spend 5-6 days together. Swamiji will be there. Of course, he won't be talking, but he will be there. Sunandaji and Academy alumni, all of us together. So it should be a great experience. The next US retreat will only be in May in the Catskills. So January is a great option. So we will meet, I guess, in a couple of weeks. Till then, Hari Om.